The president is one of the most important parts of the United States government. However, in order to fully understand who the president is, one must understand three very important things that we will be covering in this video.
The roles of the American president. The president is the head of state of the United States of America. The president being the head of state means that he serves as a figurehead and represents all the people of the United States. The president is head of government of the United States of America, which means that the president is in complete control of the government. This power does have limitations and is checked by the government through a system of checks and balances. The president is also commander-in-chief of the armed forces, which include the Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, and Navy. The Constitution does not directly state the boundaries of this power over the military, but in basic, this role of the president gives him the ability to control military actions and send troops overseas so long as he tells Congress that he's going to do it and that the troops must be pulled back after 60 days unless Congress gives an extension. When he's confronted with legislature, he can either sign it into law or veto it. The word veto is never directly used in the Constitution, however the concept is clearly defined in Article 1 and Section 7, Clause 2 of the U.S. Constitution. The way this works is that every piece of legislation that is passed must be given to the president. The president can either sign it into law or give it back with recommendations to make it better. There is also the pocket veto. When given a bill, the president has 10 days to act on it. If he does not act on the 10th day, if Congress is in session, it becomes law. However, if Congress is not in session, it does not become law. There is also the line item veto. This gives the president the power to pick and choose which parts of the law he likes and keep them while discarding all of the others. The president is not allowed to use this power. Instead, he must accept or decline legislature in its entirety. He can't pick and choose the parts he likes. The president has unlimited power to extend pardons. This basically means that if a person commits a federal crime, he has the power to reduce their sentence or to forgive them altogether. He can also make treaties. The POTUS has the power to negotiate and sign treaties. However, 2/3 of the Senate must agree to ratify it. The president can also appoint foreign ambassadors, public ministers, and councils. A council is a person of a foreign government that is sent to another country to uphold his original country's commercial interests. He can appoint judges of the Supreme Court and all other officers of the United States.
How exactly does a person become president? First, a person must file a statement of candidacy and other applications with the Federal Election Commission in order to ensure their place in the world of campaigning. After campaigning comes either the caucus or the primary. They are two different systems used by different states. Caucuses are used in 10 states. In caucuses, the voting is open and is conducted at party meetings, and a person can only vote for someone from their party. The other 40 states use primaries, in which an election is held and, depending on the state, may be open or closed. Finally is the general election on the Tuesday after the first Monday in November, in which citizens vote for the final presidential candidate they want to win. In doing this, they are really voting for people from the Electoral College who have pledged to vote for specific candidates. These results then go to the members of the Electoral College to tally votes and decide who is the final winner. Each state has at least 3 electors, 2 for each senator plus 1 for each member of the House. All states except for Maine and Nebraska have a winner-take-all vote, in which the person who gets the most votes by the citizens of a state receives all of the electoral votes allocated to that state. Maine and Nebraska have proportional representation, so the electoral votes are divided among candidates depending on the number of votes they receive from citizens. Once all of the votes are counted, if the person with the most votes has a majority of the votes, 270 or more, then they will become the president. If not, the results will be narrowed down and voted upon again. In 1800, 1824, and 1876, a president was not able to be decided upon by the Electoral College, and in these cases, Congress had to decide. It is also possible for the president to receive more popular votes than electoral votes, such as in 2000 when Al Gore won the popular vote by 600,000 votes, but George Bush ended up winning due to which states he managed to win. Situations such as this cause many people to question the quality of the Electoral College. With its benefits and drawbacks from both sides of the argument, it is still the best option the country currently has for choosing a president.
So for my section, I did the alternatives to the unitary executive. Now, there are many alternatives to a unitary executive, but first, I thought I'd discuss some of the advantages and disadvantages to a unitary executive so we could decide whether or not we even want to go that far. So first, there is plenty of advantages to a unitary executive, part of the reason why we have one in our country. First is that there is significantly a higher level of credibility and accountability in a unitary executive. This means that the president is more credible and accountable for his actions as opposed to it being a group. Another really great thing about a unitary executive is that it's more efficient. So because there's one person making all the decisions for the group, it becomes a more efficient system. And finally, a unitary executive promotes unity within a country because there's one leader. However, there are a couple major disadvantages to a unitary executive. A unitary executive provides only a one-track mind, and it's biased in a lot of its opinions based on the person's opinions on what they're talking about. And then also there's uneven representation of parties or ideas, so there's only one party that can win office. So there's another alternative that you can make to a unitary executive, and that would be a plural executive, which are many people in office. So there's some advantages to a plural executive. There's differences of opinion and perspective, which leads to a more productive government, and there's also fairer representation. However, there are some disadvantages. It's less efficient because there's more argument, and there's less unity. It's more likely for a country to divide under a plural executive. An example of this is in the PA and Texas governments. There's a governor, a lieutenant governor, and an attorney general within a plural executive government, which is what we have in Pennsylvania and Texas, as well as in Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is a country that has a plural executive. Also, you could take into consideration the idea of no executive. There are advantages to a cooperative community, which is what you call a community without an executive. There's fairness and coexistence, and it's often associated with peacefulness. Disadvantages to a co-op, however, are that it sometimes loses control, and there's little organization and representation in larger groups, which is obviously present in a co-op community. There are still co-op societies, however. There's a co-op city in Bronx, and there's also lots of businesses that use co-ops as their system, as opposed to having lots of executives. In conclusion, we discussed the roles of the American president, the Electoral College, and alternatives to a unitary executive. Thank you for watching.